The thing about phones is that they give context to everything. They allow you to triangulate contextually. Bruce Sterling calls phones and other devices like them spines because they are aware where they are in space and time. They're also aware of what you're doing, kind of, and they allow you to apply context. And maybe the way to think about what you do with phones isn't to market to people, although relationship marketing still has a role. Maybe it's marketing to certain situations or contexts where what you provide might be most useful. Maybe. Well, maybe not. If you're going to be on someone's phone, you have to understand how phones work and what phone time is. I think phones, if they are a channel, I'm not sure that they are, but if they were, they would operate in this constant now. The time is always now. Do you see what that, see the time is now? Do you? OK, you can laugh, it's all right. The time is now, and phones operate in a constant now. Phones are always with you, so it's always now on your phone, which is kind of interesting. In fact, Google's mobile strategy is based on this idea of now. They have 3 use cases of now that they use to adjust to different kinds of, I guess, apps and projects and stuff like that. They have the repetitive now. Repetitive now is when you endlessly repeatedly look at the same thing, like stock prices or Twitter or email or whatever. They have the bored now, which is you are somewhere and you have some time to kill, and so you look at your phone to do some stuff to kill the time. And they have the urgent now, where you're somewhere and you want to find something out, like where the pub is or where the mobile conference is or whatever, and you use your phone, which is all good. And those 3 type cases are really helpful, I find, when thinking about apps. They are different kinds of contexts, right? But if we are going to be on people's phones, I think we need to add value and be useful. And I call this geutility, because it's location-specific usefulness. But actually, maybe it's kind of a bigger thought, which is needs to be contextually useful, and that location is one layer of context we can apply to these patterns of behavior we call customers. Anyway, the first bit of geutility is obvious. You don't get lost. That's cool. No one will ever get lost again once everybody has a smartphone. That's going to be interesting. The world will be different because of that. But what do we do? Well, one of the useful things you can do with location and context is time shift now. Because now is always when you have that cake. Now is always when you don't go to the gym. Now is always when you go drinking instead. Now is always when you put things off until tomorrow. Tomorrow is when you go to the gym. Tomorrow is when you don't have the cake. Tomorrow is when you start the diet. Tomorrow is when you are always responsible and strong-willed. Now, weak-willed, always. So one of the cool things about phones is it lets you time shift now, or more specifically, your will for now. And this is one way to do it. This is an application called Morsel that was developed by Big Spaceship for GE. And it's cool. It's very cool, in fact. You should download it. It's on iPhones and other platforms, too. And what it does is it reminds you every day to do one thing to make you healthier, which is really smart, because it time shifts your now, and it reminds you. And it kind of, you handcuff yourself to your previous intentions, you know? And it does something really smart as well. To make you sort of do it, or make you more likely to do it, it deploys a persuasion tactic called social proof. It shows you how many other people that have the app have done this thing today. It essentially guilts you into doing it, which is really smart. And that's the other thing I wanted to think about, which is maybe that mobiles aren't individual media. Although they are, they're very personal media. What is interesting about mobile as an aggregate? What if the interesting thing isn't the mobile moving around? What if it's that everywhere suddenly has phones? That we are everywhere? Maybe that changes stuff.
Here's a thing made by Rex. And tech. With, and working in the video game industry as they do, they know how easy it is to be drawn into virtual worlds and not bother with what you should really be doing. That it's sometimes easier to complete a 40-hour RPG than drag yourself to the gym or wash your dirty car. The answer to this knotty problem? Epic Win. An app that is both a to-do list and a streamlined RPG, so that you get rewarded for doing those things you're trying to put off. As you complete your real-world goals, you gain experience points, uncover loot, and level up your character. Be they a swarthy dwarven toiler, a CEO of pain, a mistress of task domination, or
So that's awesome.
Epic win!
Epic win. That's awesome, isn't it? So the other thing that interesting about phones is that it can turn life into a game. Foursquare is a good example of how this works. The very, very smart Kevin Slavin, who runs a company called Area Code that develops mobile and big game type things for people, thinks about it like this. The real world becomes the platform. Life becomes the platform in which you can operate, and the mobile is the device to navigate that platform. I think that's probably quite important. Beyond making yourself better, beyond in aggregate using social proof to convince yourself to not have pies and stuff, mobile provides you the opportunity to create positive externalities. These things are what make the world better rather than just us better. This is one. This is an application launched about 3 days ago that Google has developed for Android platform, obviously, and it's about parking spaces. And what it is, when you leave a parking space, you notify the database that you've left the parking space. And that's great, isn't it? Because, why would you do that? How does it help you? It doesn't. But if everybody did that, we would have a live database of where all parking spaces were in the city, and that would be awesome for everybody. Positive externalities. If you lower the barrier to social civic externality action low enough, people will do it, I think, because we are predisposed to share, as Clay Shirky likes to say. And that's cool. If you take this idea to its next level, you get Ushahidi. Ushahidi is a case study in Shirky's new book, actually, Cognitive Surplus, which is very good. Ushahidi is a crowdsourced crisis information portal. It's a platform created for the sort of turmoil and violence in Kenya in 2008. Basically, it lets you, via SMS and MMS, report violence and crisis situations in countries where the infrastructure for media isn't very good, and so people can tell you where things are happening. This relies on people doing stuff that does not benefit them immediately, but benefits the civic externality, and that's super awesome. And it's very cool, this. Ushahidi is the Swahili word for testament, apparently. And aggregate only works if lots of people do it. And it only works if other people do stuff, and then you get the benefit. That's cool, right? But it requires people to do stuff. I am interested in this idea of passive participation. I think the easier something is, the more people will do it, because people are intrinsically quite lazy. Oh, this is very soothing music, isn't it? This is a visualization from a game called Chromarama. Chromarama is a game that runs on the Oyster card system of the London Underground. It uses the NFC RFID tags on your Oyster card to play the game. So all you have to do is commute. And by commuting, you're playing the game. I assume Chromarama is a kind of synesthetic joke about smell and sound, I think. I'm not sure. Anyway, I think things will be really interesting when people can participate without doing stuff. I think the phone that tracks your behavior and runs in the background is going to change how we understand our own behavior a lot, both individually and in aggregate. But that's only possible when you can run applications in the background. So that's only very recently possible as an idea on phones.